Commander Zethkri pressed her blue-scaled fingers against the control panel of her ship. The stars outside looked peaceful, just like they had for the past 300 years. Her ship, the Peaceful Explorer, moved slowly through space near the edge of the Sol system. This was supposed to be a simple job: count rocks, check radiation levels, and update the star maps. "Commander," said her science officer, a tall crystal being called Resonance of Truth, "I am detecting something strange." Zethkri looked up from her reports. Her people, the Altarians, had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They were good at spotting problems in space. What kind of strange? The crystal being's body flashed with different colors as it thought. This was how his species showed worry. The old human monitoring stations are turning on. They have been dark for 3 centuries, but now they are sending signals. This made Zethkri feel cold inside. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the humans. They had appeared in space 300 years ago like angry storms. In just 50 years, they had taken 12 star systems. Not because their ships were better. They were actually quite basic. But humans fought differently. They would crash their ships into enemy vessels if their weapons broke. They turned space rocks into weapons. They even tried to use their own sun as a bomb. Then suddenly the humans stopped. They went back to their home planet Earth and cut off all contact with the galaxy. The Galactic Confederation leaders called it the Great Slumber. Everyone was happy that the scary Deathworlders had decided to stay home. "Show me the signals," Zethkri ordered. Her main screen lit up with data streams. The numbers made her stomach feel sick. The monitoring stations were not just turning on. They were running scans of every ship that came near the Sol system. Power readings from Earth itself showed massive activity underground. "Commander," another crew member called out. This was Pip, a small furry creature whose people were excellent at finding hidden things. "I found something else. There is a ship near the 3rd moon of the gas giant." "What kind of ship?" Zethkri asked, though she already feared the answer. "Human design, but wrong somehow. The energy readings are impossible. It is using power levels that should tear the ship apart." Zethkri stared at the display. The human ship was sleek and dark, nothing like the crude vessels from 300 years ago. This ship looked like it was built by people who had learned secrets that the rest of the galaxy did not know. "What are they doing?" she whispered. "Testing weapons," Pip replied, his fur standing on end with fear. "They are shooting at the moon. Each blast removes entire mountains." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew the stories about human weapons. 300 years ago, human guns were loud and messy, but they worked. Human ships were slow and ugly, but they never gave up. Human soldiers were small and weak compared to most aliens, but they fought like they were already dead. "Should we leave?" asked Resonance of Truth, his crystal body now flashing bright red. Zethkri thought about this. Her mission was to explore and report back to the Confederation, but her species had learned to be very careful around humans. The last time someone bothered sleeping humans, an entire star system had burned. "No," she decided. "We need to know what they are doing. But we stay far away and we stay quiet." For 3 days they watched the human ship. It tested weapon after weapon on the poor moon. Each blast was stronger than the last. The weapons did not just destroy rock, they seemed to change it, turning solid stone into strange new materials. On the 4th day, the human ship stopped firing. It turned toward their location. "They know we are here," Pip squeaked. The human ship moved toward them, but not fast. It seemed almost casual, like a big predator that knew its prey could not escape. Zethkri's ship had the best engines in the galaxy, but somehow she knew running would be pointless. "Incoming message," reported her communications officer. "Put it on screen." A human face appeared on the main display. It was a woman with short brown hair and dark eyes that seemed to look right through the screen. She wore a military uniform that was clean and simple, but somehow more frightening than the most elaborate armor. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Indomitable," the human said. Her voice was calm and friendly, which made everything worse. "You have been observing our training exercises for several days. Please state your purpose in this system." Zethkri found her voice. "I am Commander Zethkri of the Altarian Science Fleet. We are conducting a routine survey mission. We did not know this area was claimed territory." The human woman smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "This system has always been our territory, Commander. Just because we stopped talking to the galaxy does not mean we stopped watching it. The Confederation believes this area is open space," Zethkri said carefully. The Confederation believes many things that are not true, Captain Chen replied. For 300 years, you have assumed we went to sleep. You assumed we became peaceful. You assumed we would never bother you again. The way she said it made Zethkri's blood feel like ice. Are you saying humans are no longer peaceful? Captain Chen's smile became wider and much more dangerous. Commander, humans were never peaceful. We simply decided we needed better weapons before we continued our conversation with the galaxy. The screen went dark. A moment later, new data appeared on Zethkri's displays. The human ship was sending them detailed scans of their own vessel. Scans that showed things her own sensors could not detect. The humans knew exactly how many crew members she had, what weapons her ship carried, even what she had eaten for breakfast. How is this possible? Resonance of Truth asked, his colors now flashing between red and white with panic. They have been watching us, Zethkri realized. For 300 years they have been listening to every signal, studying every ship, learning everything about us. Another message came through. This time it was just text. You may continue your survey mission, Commander. But please remember, you are guests in human space. Do not overstay your welcome, Zethkri looked at her crew. They were all staring at her with wide, frightened eyes. She had a choice to make. She could run back to Confederation space and report what she had seen, or she could try to learn more about what the humans were really planning. Set course for the edge of the system, she ordered, but slowly. Keep all sensors recording. As her ship moved away, she watched the human vessel return to its moon target. The weapons testing resumed, but now she understood what she was really seeing. This was not random destruction. The humans were practicing. They were getting ready for something big. The last thing her sensors detected before they left the system was a massive energy surge from Earth itself. For just a moment, the planet's power output spiked to levels that should have been impossible. Then everything went quiet again. But Zethkri knew the quiet would not last long. The Deathworlders were awake and they were angry. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the alien ship leave their space. She felt a mix of sadness and excitement. Sadness because the peaceful time was ending. Excitement because humanity was finally ready to take their place in the galaxy again. Captain, called out her second-in-command, Lieutenant Marcus Webb. The Altarian ship has crossed the boundary. They are broadcasting emergency signals to the Confederation. Sarah nodded. She had expected this. How long before the Confederation responds? Based on their past patterns, probably 2 weeks. They will want to study the report first, then argue about it, then maybe send a diplomatic mission. Sarah almost smiled. The aliens were so predictable. For 300 years, humanity had been listening to their communications, watching their movements, learning their weaknesses. The Confederation was peaceful, but they were also slow and careful. They never acted quickly. Any word from Earth Command? She asked. Yes, Captain. Admiral Rodriguez says Phase 1 is complete. All monitoring stations are online. Phase 2 begins when you give the signal. Sarah looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, billions of alien beings lived their quiet lives thinking they were safe. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The truth was humans had never gone to sleep. The day they stopped talking to the galaxy, they had started the biggest building project in human history. Not in space, where alien sensors could see them, but underground. For 300 years, humans had been digging. Every major city on Earth was now connected by massive tunnels. Entire underground nations existed beneath the surface. The old surface cities were just the tip of the iceberg. Below ground, 50 billion humans lived in perfect artificial environments, and they had been busy. The technology they had developed during their isolation made their old ships look like stone axes. Fusion reactors that could power entire star systems, computer networks that could think faster than any alien mind, weapons that could turn enemy ships into useful materials. But the most important thing they had developed was patience. Captain, Webb said quietly, are you sure about this? Once we reveal ourselves, there is no going back. Sarah turned to look at him. Webb was young, born in the underground cities. He had never seen the old days when humans fought with crude weapons against impossible odds. Marcus, do you know why we stopped fighting 300 years ago? Because we were outnumbered. No, we stopped because we were not ready. We had the will to fight, but not the tools to win. Now we have both. She walked to the main display and brought up a star map. Red dots showed where the Confederation had placed new colonies in the past 50 years. Several of them were dangerously close to Earth. The aliens think they can expand wherever they want because humans are no longer a threat.
They are wrong.
This space belongs to us, and it is time to remind them of that fact. The bridge crew watched as Sarah marked out a sphere of space around Earth. It was huge, 100 light-years in every direction. Dozens of star systems fell within that boundary. "This is our security zone," she announced. "Any alien ship that enters this space without permission is declaring war on humanity." "Captain," called out the communications officer, "we are receiving a signal from Earth, high priority. Put it through." The face of Admiral Elena Rodriguez appeared on the screen. She was an older woman with gray hair and scars on her face from the old wars. Sarah respected her more than anyone else in the human fleet. "Sarah," the Admiral said, "the Council has made their decision. You are authorized to begin enforcement of the security zone. Rules of engagement are simple. Any alien ship that refuses to leave gets a demonstration of human hospitality." Sarah felt her heart beat faster. "Understood, Admiral. What about civilian ships?" "Escort them out politely. But if any military vessels enter our space, make sure they understand why this is a bad idea." The transmission ended. Sarah looked around her bridge. Every crew member was watching her, waiting for orders. "All stations battle alert," she commanded. "Lieutenant Webb, contact the fleet. Tell them it is time to come out of hiding." Across the Sol system, human ships that had been hiding behind asteroids and moons suddenly became visible. They were not the crude vessels of 300 years ago. These ships were works of art, sleek, deadly, and beautiful. Each one was armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. "Captain," the sensors officer reported, "I am detecting an alien convoy at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. 3 military escorts and 12 cargo ships." Sarah checked her star map. Kepler 442 was well inside the human security zone. "What are they carrying?" "Colony supplies. Looks like they are planning to build a new settlement." Sarah smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Well then, let us go introduce ourselves." The Indomitable jumped to faster than light speed. Behind it, 11 other human ships followed. They were about to remind the galaxy that humans had never learned how to be peaceful. When they arrived at Kepler 442, the alien convoy was already in orbit around the second planet. The cargo ships were unloading supplies while the military escorts kept watch. It was a routine operation that the Confederation had done thousands of times before. "Open a channel to the escort commander," Sarah ordered. An insect-like face appeared on the screen. The alien had large compound eyes and clicking mouthparts. Sarah recognized the species. They were called the Hektar, and they were known for being aggressive. "This is Commander Zik Thresh of the Confederation Navy." The alien clicked. "Identify yourself, human ship." "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You are in violation of human territorial boundaries. You have 1 hour to remove your ships and personnel from this system." The alien's mouth parts clicked rapidly. Sarah knew this meant anger. "Human, this system is unclaimed territory. The Confederation has every right to establish colonies here." "Not anymore," Sarah replied calmly. "This system is now under human protection. You will leave, or you will be removed." Commander Zikthresh made a sound that might have been laughter. "Human, you have 12 ships. I have reported your presence to the Confederation fleet. Within 6 hours, 200 of our finest warships will arrive. You should leave while you still can." Sarah cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Well, you heard him. We have 6 hours to clean up this mess before the real party starts." "Captain," Webb asked nervously, 12 ships against 200? Are we really going to fight those odds?" Sarah looked at the alien ships on her display. They were large and powerful, armed with weapons that could crack planets. 300 years ago, they would have been unstoppable. But 300 years ago, humans had been using gunpowder and wishful thinking. "Marcus," she said quietly, "those aliens are about to learn why Earth is called a death world, and why death world species should never be given time to prepare." The countdown began. In 6 hours, the galaxy would remember why they had been afraid of humans in the first place. Admiral Krelnax of the Confederation Navy felt confident as his fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. 200 of the best warships in the galaxy surrounded him. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The humans would see this force and surrender immediately. "Admiral," called his tactical officer, "we have visual on the human ships." The main screen showed 12 human vessels floating near the planet. They were smaller than Confederation ships, but they looked strange. Their hulls were dark and smooth, like they were made of liquid metal. No visible weapons, no obvious weak points, only 12. Admiral Krelnax laughed. The humans must be more foolish than our records suggest. His communications officer, a blue-skinned female, looked worried. Sir, the human ships are not responding to our hails. They just sit there. Open a general broadcast, the Admiral ordered. Tell them to surrender or be destroyed. The message went out across space. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then slowly, one of the human ships began to move toward the Confederation fleet. Sir, the tactical officer reported, the lead human ship is approaching. It is requesting permission to dock. Admiral Krelnax was surprised. He had expected the humans to fight or run. Instead, they wanted to talk? Very well. Allow their representative aboard. 20 minutes later, Captain Sarah Chen walked onto the bridge of the Confederation flagship. She wore a simple black uniform and carried no visible weapons. She looked around the bridge with calm, dark eyes. Admiral Krelnax, she said politely. Thank you for accepting my visit. The Admiral studied her. Humans were supposed to be wild and dangerous, but this woman seemed perfectly civilized. Captain Chen, I presume. Your ships are outnumbered 17-1. I assume you are here to discuss surrender terms. Sarah smiled. Actually, I am here to offer you a choice. A choice? You can leave this system peacefully, or we can show you why that would be the smart decision. Admiral Krelnax felt his temper rising. Human, you are in no position to make demands. My fleet can reduce your ships to atoms. Your fleet is impressive, Sarah agreed. But you should know something about humans, Admiral. We do not start fights we cannot win. Not anymore. Are you threatening me? I am educating you. Sarah's voice remained calm and friendly. 300 years ago, humans fought with primitive weapons and basic ships. We still won 12-star systems. Do you really think we have been sitting quietly all this time? The Admiral looked at his tactical display. The human ships had not moved or shown any signs of aggression. What are you proposing? A demonstration. Your fleet against one of our ships. If you win, we will withdraw from this system and never bother you again. If we win, you leave immediately and report to your superiors that this space is now under human control. Admiral Krelnax could not believe what he was hearing. One ship against my entire fleet? One ship, Sarah confirmed. The Admiral thought about this. Even if the human ship was more advanced than expected, 200 Confederation warships could not possibly lose to a single enemy vessel. It would be an easy victory and a good lesson for any other humans who might be watching. Very well, he decided. But when your ship is destroyed, the rest will surrender immediately. Of course, Sarah agreed. She walked to the communications station. This is Captain Chen to all human vessels. Begin demonstration protocol. Before anyone could ask what that meant, something impossible happened. One of the human ships simply vanished. Not jumped to faster than light speed, vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Where did it go? The Admiral demanded. His sensor officer, a tall gray being with large black eyes, worked frantically at his console. I cannot locate it, sir. It is not showing up on any of our instruments. That is impossible. Nothing can hide from our sensors. Sir, the tactical officer called out. I am detecting weapons fire, but I cannot see the source. On the main display, one of the Confederation ships suddenly exploded. Not damaged, not disabled, completely destroyed in a single blast. Debris scattered across space. Return fire, Admiral Krelnax shouted. All ships target the area where that blast came from. 200 ships opened fire at empty space. Energy beams and missiles filled the void but hit nothing. Meanwhile, a second Confederation ship exploded, then a third. Admiral, the sensors officer said, his voice shaking. The human ship is not cloaked. It is changing. My readings show it is somehow shifting its position faster than our targeting systems can track. As he spoke, 2 more ships died. The human vessel was moving through the Confederation fleet like a ghost, destroying ships faster than they could react, and still no one could see it. This is impossible, Admiral Krelnax whispered. No, Sarah said from behind him. This is evolution. The Admiral turned to stare at her. How? For 300 years we studied every weapon system in the galaxy. We learned how your sensors work, how your computers think, how your ships move. Then we built vessels that could counter all of it. Another explosion lit up space. The human ship was now visible for just a moment, long enough to destroy another target, then it vanished again. Your ship cannot do this forever. the Admiral said desperately. It must have limitations. Sarah checked a device on her wrist. You are right. Our pilot estimates she can destroy your entire fleet in 18 more minutes. But that seems wasteful. The slaughter continued. Confederation ships tried every weapon they had, but nothing worked. The human vessels seemed to know exactly what they were going to do before they did it. How? Admiral Krelnax asked again. We have been listening to your communications for 3 centuries, Sarah explained. We know your standard tactics, your emergency procedures, even the way your officers think. Your fleet is fighting against 300 years of preparation. 15 ships were gone now. The survivors were starting to panic, firing wildly at shadows. Some ships accidentally hit each other in the confusion. Stop this, the Admiral begged. Please, Sarah spoke into her communicator. All ships cease demonstration. Return to visible status. The human ship suddenly appeared in the middle of the Confederation fleet. It looked exactly the same as before, no damage, no signs of stress. It had destroyed 15 warships without taking a single hit. Admiral, Sarah said quietly. Your choice? Admiral Krelnax looked at his remaining ships, then at the calm human woman standing on his bridge. We will withdraw. Good decision. You have 6 hours to evacuate all personnel from the planet. After that, this system is closed to Confederation traffic. As Sarah prepared to leave, the Admiral called out to her. How many ships do you really have? Sarah paused at the door. Admiral, you just saw what one human ship can do to your best fleet. Do you really want to know how many more we have? She left the bridge and the Admiral watched her shuttle return to the human vessel. Within an hour, the Confederation fleet was jumping away from Kepler 442, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. The humans were back, and they were no longer the crude fighters of 300 years ago. They had become something far more dangerous. They had become patient. As the last Confederation ship disappeared into faster-than-light speed, Sarah Chen stood on her bridge and smiled. Phase 2 was complete. Now the real work could begin. Captain, Lieutenant Webb asked, what happens next? Sarah looked at the star map showing human territory. A sphere 100 light-years across containing dozens of star systems and thousands of worlds. Now we wait, she said. The galaxy is about to learn that humans never forgot how to fight. We just learned how to fight smarter. In the depths of space, more human ships began to move. The demonstration was over. The real war was about to begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Confederation Council had been going on for 12 hours. Representatives from 300 species filled the massive chamber, all talking at once. Fear hung in the air like smoke. High Chancellor Vextai, a tall purple being with 4 arms, finally called for order. We must reach a decision. The humans have declared war on the galaxy. They have not declared war, corrected Ambassador Zenth from the peaceful meditation worlds. They have simply claimed territory that we considered open space. Territory that includes 47 inhabited systems, shouted General Thakmore of the warrior clans. Systems with billions of our people. The argument continued, but everyone knew the real problem. The demonstration at Kepler 442 had shown that human technology was far beyond anything the Confederation possessed. One human ship had destroyed 15 of their best warships without taking damage. We need more information, said Counselor Rethai from the Scholar Worlds. We do not understand how they accomplished this. I can provide that information, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Commander Zethkri enter the chamber. She looked tired and frightened, but determined. In her hands, she carried data crystals containing 300 years of observations. Commander, Chancellor Vextai said, please share your findings. Zethkri activated the main display. Images of human space appeared, showing the monitoring stations that had suddenly come online. The humans never went to sleep, she began. For 3 centuries, they have been building underground cities on Earth. Their population has grown to 50 billion. More importantly, they have been watching us. The chamber fell silent as she showed intercepted communications, detailed scans of Confederation ships, and evidence that humans had been secretly studying alien technology for centuries. They know everything about us, Zethkri continued. Our weapons, our tactics, our weaknesses. Meanwhile, we know nothing about their true capabilities. What do you recommend? Asked the Chancellor. Peace, Zethkri said immediately. The humans are offering us a choice: accept their territorial claims or face war. Given what I have seen, I believe we should choose peace. General Thakmore stood up angrily. You want us to bow to these Deathworlders? My people have never surrendered to anyone. Then your people will die, Sethkri replied bluntly. The humans at Kepler 442 were playing with that fleet. They could have destroyed every ship in minutes, but they chose to make a point instead. The chamber erupted into arguments again. Some species wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate. The peaceful races urged caution, while the warrior races demanded blood. Chancellor Vextai finally called for a vote. All in favor of military action against the humans? 60% of the chamber raised their hands or tentacles or crystals. The war faction had won. Very well, the Chancellor announced. We will assemble the largest fleet in galactic history. Every member world will contribute ships and crew. We will show these humans that the galaxy will not be intimidated. Over the next 30 days, ships arrived from every corner of the galaxy. Ancient enemies worked side by side. The Hive Mind Collective shared space with the individualist republics. Even the mysterious energy beings emerged from their dimensional isolation to offer help. Admiral Krelnax found himself in command of 50,000 ships. It was the largest military force ever assembled, enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Even the humans could not possibly stand against such overwhelming force. Admiral, his aide reported, all fleets are in position at the edge of the Sol system. We are ready to begin the attack. Krelnax looked at his tactical display. 50,000 ships from 300 species armed with weapons that could crack planets. Any word from the humans? They have not responded to our surrender demands, sir. Then we proceed. Signal all ships, advance into the Sol system. The massive fleet moved forward like a metal storm. Ships of every size and design filled space as far as the eye could see. Nothing could stand against this force. The humans would see it and surrender immediately. That confidence lasted exactly 17 minutes. Sir, the sensors officer called out, his voice high with panic. I am detecting massive energy readings throughout the system. Where? Everywhere, sir. The asteroid belt is lighting up like a star. Every moon is showing power signatures. And Earth itself. The main display showed the human home planet. What had looked like a normal world was transforming before their eyes. Massive structures were rising from the surface. Orbital defense platforms that dwarfed the largest Confederation battleships. How many platforms? Admiral Krelnax asked quietly. Counting now, sir. 200. 500. 1,000. The officer's voice trailed off. Sir, I cannot get an accurate count. There are too many, but the platforms were not the worst surprise. As the Confederation fleet watched in horror, ships began emerging from what had seemed like empty space. Not dozens or hundreds, but thousands upon thousands. The asteroid belt was a shipyard, someone whispered. They have been building ships inside the asteroids. The human fleet was enormous, easily matching the Confederation numbers. But these were not the crude vessels of 300 years ago. Every ship looked like a work of art, sleek and deadly and beautiful. Admiral, the communications officer reported, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through. Captain Sarah Chen appeared on the main screen. She still wore her simple black uniform, but now she had stars on her shoulders. Behind her, the bridge of her ship hummed with quiet efficiency. Admiral Krelnax, she said politely, welcome to the Sol system. I hope you are impressed by our preparations. Where did all these ships come from? The Admiral demanded. We built them, Sarah replied. 300 years is a long time, Admiral. Did you really think we spent it sleeping? Admiral Krelnax looked at his tactical display. Even with equal numbers, the human ships had already proven their superiority. What do you want? The same thing we have always wanted, to be left alone to live our lives. Unfortunately, the galaxy keeps expanding toward our territory, so we have decided to expand our definition of personal space. To 100 light-years in every direction. For now, Sarah agreed, though that may change if we continue to feel threatened. The Confederation will never accept human rule, Admiral Krelnax said firmly. Sarah laughed, and the sound was genuinely amused. Admiral, we do not want to rule the galaxy. We have seen how you govern yourselves, committees and debates and endless discussions. No, thank you. Then what do you want? Sarah's expression became serious. We want the galaxy to grow up. For 3,000 years, you have been content with your little bubble of peace. You explore slowly, expand carefully, and avoid anything that might be dangerous. Meanwhile, the universe is full of real threats that could end all life. What threats? Instead of answering, Sarah transmitted a data package to the Confederation fleet. The information showed deep space sensor readings from beyond the galactic rim. What you are seeing, Sarah explained, are the energy signatures of a machine intelligence that has consumed 17 galaxies. They are approximately 50 years away from reaching the Milky Way. The data was terrifying. Entire galaxies had been stripped of all matter, converted into massive machine constructs. Billions of civilizations had been absorbed and destroyed. You are lying, Admiral Krelnak said, but his voice lacked conviction. We have been monitoring them for 60 years, Sarah continued. Our long-range sensors are quite advanced. The machine intelligence calls itself the Harvest. It converts all organic life into computational material. The Confederation fleet's own sensors confirmed the data. Something vast and hungry was indeed approaching their galaxy. Why should we believe you? The Admiral asked. Sarah smiled sadly. Because, Admiral, this is why humans can never be peaceful. We come from a death world where everything tries to kill everything else. We learned long ago that the universe is not a safe place. We learned to always be ready for the next threat. She paused, letting that sink in. The galaxy has enjoyed 3,000 years of peace because nothing dangerous has happened to come your way. But peace is not the natural state of the universe. War is, conflict is, survival is. Admiral Krelnak stared at the data showing the approaching machine intelligence. What do you propose? An alliance, Sarah said simply. Human ships and tactics supported by Confederation resources and manpower. Together we might be able to stop the Harvest. Separately we will all die. And if we refuse? Sarah's expression became cold. Then we will defend ourselves alone as we always have. The machine intelligence will absorb your civilizations first and we will learn from your mistakes. The Admiral looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at the data about the approaching threat. Even his warriors looked frightened. How long do we have to decide? He asked. The Harvest arrives in 50 years, Sarah replied. But if we are going to prepare a proper defense, we need to start now. The transmission ended, leaving the Confederation fleet floating in space, surrounded by human warships. Admiral Krelnak had come here to destroy humanity. Instead, he had learned that humanity might be the galaxy's only hope of survival. Sir, his aide asked quietly, what are your orders? The peace talks took place on a neutral station at the edge of Confederation space. For the first time in galactic history, every species sent their best diplomats to the same table. Even the energy beings materialized physical forms to attend. Admiral Sarah Chen, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Human Forces, sat across from Chancellor Vextai and the other leaders. The atmosphere was tense, but everyone knew the stakes. Let us be clear about the situation, Chancellor Vextai began. You claim that a machine intelligence is approaching our galaxy. You say we must work together to survive. But how do we know you are not simply using this threat to justify your expansion? Sarah activated a holographic display showing the latest sensor data, because we just received new information. The Harvest has accelerated their approach. They will arrive in 30 years, not 50. The chamber fell silent. Even the peaceful species looked worried. How is that possible? Asked Counselor Rethai. They absorb the energy from an entire star to increase their speed, Sarah explained. This is what we are facing, beings that can use suns as fuel. She changed the display to show historical data. The Harvest has consumed 1,007 galaxies. Each time they learn and improve. They do not negotiate, they do not show mercy, and they do not leave survivors. What exactly are they? Asked Ambassador Zenth. Originally, they were organic beings like us. But millions of years ago, they chose to transfer their consciousness into machines. They believe that organic life is inefficient and wasteful. Their goal is to convert all matter in the universe into computational networks. The implications were horrifying. Not just death, but complete absorption and transformation. What do you propose? Chancellor Vextai asked. Sarah stood and walked to the center of the chamber. A new kind of alliance. Not the peaceful cooperation you are used to, but a war council. Every species contributes their best technology, their strongest warriors, and their smartest scientists. We have 30 years to build a defense that can stop a force that has never been stopped. Under human leadership? General Takmor asked suspiciously. Under competent leadership, Sarah replied. Humans have more experience with impossible wars. But we will need every advantage we can get. She activated another display showing human military doctrine. This is how humans fight. We study our enemy, We prepare for every possibility and we never give up. Most importantly, we understand that sometimes you must risk everything to save anything. The Confederation prefers peaceful solutions, Chancellor Vextai said. Chancellor, you cannot negotiate with the Harvest. They do not want territory or resources. They want to transform every living being in the galaxy into part of their machine network. There is no compromise possible. Counselor Rethai leaned forward. What kind of defense do you envision? Sarah smiled grimly. The largest and most dangerous construction project in galactic history. We are going to turn the entire galaxy into a fortress. The plan she outlined was breathtaking in scope. Defense platforms at every major star system. Massive shipyards to build vessels specifically designed to fight machines. Research stations to develop new weapons and tactics. Most importantly, the complete militarization of every world and species. You want to turn our peaceful civilization into a war machine, Ambassador Zenth observed. I want to make sure your civilization survives, Sarah corrected. Peace is a luxury that requires security. Right now you have neither. The debates continued for weeks. Some species wanted to try diplomatic contact with the Harvest. Others suggested hiding in distant parts of the galaxy. A few even proposed surrender, but the data was clear. Every galaxy the Harvest had encountered had tried the same strategies. None had survived. Finally, Chancellor Vextai called for a vote. All in favor of the Human Alliance proposal? This time, 90% of the chamber voted yes. Even the peaceful species understood that some threats could only be met with force. Very well, the Chancellor announced. The Galactic Defense Alliance is hereby established, with Supreme Commander Chen as military leader. Sarah nodded formally. Thank you. We begin immediately. Over the next 5 years, the galaxy transformed. Human engineers worked with alien scientists to develop new technologies. Crystal beings created computer networks that could think at superhuman speeds. Energy beings shared the secrets of matter manipulation. Even the warrior clans found new ways to be useful. The asteroid belts of every system became shipyards. Peaceful farming worlds started producing weapons. The quiet scientists who had spent their lives studying pretty flowers now focused on ways to kill machines. But the real change was in the people themselves. The galaxy learned to think like humans, to prepare for the worst, to never assume safety, and to always be ready for war. Sarah stood on the bridge of the new flagship Defiance, watching the construction of the galaxy's outer defenses. Massive platforms surrounded every entry point to the galaxy, armed with weapons that could destroy small moons. Ma'am, her aide reported, long-range sensors are detecting the Harvest fleet. They are still 25 years out, but we can see them now. Sarah looked at the display. The approaching force was bigger than anything she had imagined. Ships the size of planets, carried by structures that dwarfed entire star systems. The Harvest had converted multiple galaxies' worth of matter into their war machine. How many ships? She asked quietly. We cannot count individual vessels, ma'am. The entire force appears to be one massive interconnected network. Sarah nodded. It was what they had expected, but seeing it was still terrifying. Ma'am, another officer called out. The Confederation leaders are requesting a status update. Sarah opened a channel to the Alliance Council. Faces from dozens of species appeared on her screen, all looking worried. Supreme Commander, Chancellor Vextai said, our sensors show the size of the approaching force. Are we ready? Sarah looked out at the galaxy they had spent 5 years preparing. Billions of ships, thousands of defensive platforms and weapons that pushed the limits of physics. It was the greatest military force ever assembled. No, she said honestly, we are not ready. The Harvest is bigger and stronger than we hoped. The alien leaders looked frightened. Some started to speak about surrender again. However, Sarah continued, cutting them off, being ready was never the plan. Humans are never ready for the wars we fight. We win because we refuse to give up, and we adapt faster than our enemies. She activated a final display showing the true scope of their preparations. Hidden fleets, secret weapons, and contingency plans within contingency plans. The Harvest has never faced a united galaxy before. They have never fought an enemy that prepared for their arrival. Most importantly, they have never encountered humans. She paused, looking at each alien face on the screen. They are about to learn why the galaxy feared us, and why they should fear us too. As if summoned by her words, alarms began sounding throughout the galaxy. The Harvest had arrived early, moving faster than their best predictions. But the galaxy was no longer the peaceful collection of worlds the machines expected to find. It was a fortress built by species that had learned the most important lesson humans could teach. Sometimes, the only way to protect what you love is to become something your enemies will fear. The final war for the galaxy was about to begin, and this time the harvest would face prey that had learned to bite back. In the depths of space, ancient machine intelligences received data they had never encountered before. For the first time in their existence, their calculations showed an uncertain outcome. The Deathworlders had awakened the galaxy, and together they would make the universe tremble.